I'd like to introduce our moderator for this session, James Lott. James is a real estate associate and serves as the regional director for Pluto Capital Investments. He's passionate about financial literacy and helping families accumulate generational wealth through real estate. James will be joined by panelists as they do a deeper dive into actionable guidance to aid in creating business plans that attract investment, identify the appropriate sources of capital relevant to each stage in development of the organization, and outline necessary keys for growth. Let's welcome our third panel.
Thank you for that, Tanya. Man, I am happy to be here with you all in person. I don't know about you, but I'm absolutely tired of Zoom. If I have to do another Zoom call or Google Meet or something like that, it's gonna be a problem. So before I get introductions with this wonderful panel, I just wanna do a quick poll for everybody up here so that way we know who is in the room. Raise your hand if you're a current student or undergrad or grad student, just trying to figure out what your next career move is. Okay. Raise your hand if you are currently a working professional, maybe going to school part-time, maybe have your own side business, and just trying to figure out what your next step might be. All right, and raise your hand if you're an entrepreneur and you already own your own business and you're looking to grow and scale. And for those of you who didn't raise your hand, I'm assuming that you just here for the free food, which is completely okay. So the reason I wanted to do that quick poll really was so that they can understand who's in the room, but then also to let you all know that everybody here has been in your shoes at some point. So the goal of today's panel is really to take some actionable steps away, so that way you can learn what you need to do in order to grow your business or progress in your career. So with that, I'm going to start with the introductions. John and Lance, I'm sorry, I was raised a gentleman. My parents can attest to it. They're sitting right there. So I want to start with Shakima.
Yes.
Shakima is the VP of Inclusive Small Business at Live Oak Bank, which is one of the premier banks for small business owners. She leads Channel, which is an inclusive small business center in downtown Wilmington that serves minority entrepreneurs and connects small business owners with coaching, community, and capital. Fun fact about Shakima is that she's actually a twin. So if you see her twin running around somewhere, then you know it might not be her. I'll move over to Lance. So Lance is the CEO of Holman Capital Corporation, which at that company, their goal is to be the top public sector debt, private equity, and management solutions provider to governments, educational institutions, and health systems nationwide. Previous to that, he worked for SunTrust Leasing Corporation and Chase Equipment Finance, originating and structuring tax-exempt and lease debt obligations for public agencies. Fun fact about Lance, I found this out last night. He's been doing the P90X Shaun T Insanity workout for the last 15 years. So if you see him busting out of his jacket, then you can credit that to Shaun T. Next, I'll move over to John. So John is a multifaceted entrepreneur and founder. He founded Rock the Bass, which is a live entertainment touring company aimed at delivering the best of live entertainment experience designed to uplift the morale, spirit, and welfare of our armed forces. And he also founded Smartpreneur, which is an entrepreneurship development agency aimed at assisting underrepresented entrepreneurs. And he also works with students directly here at UCI in order to help them build their companies. The fun fact about John, he plays the piano, and he also served in the Marines for about 8 or 9 years. So thank you for your service. So one of the things that we constantly hear about in business conversations is the difference between entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship. People here might not know the difference. I'm sure a lot of you have heard it at least. So I want to start with Lance. Lance, to you, what is the difference between entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship? And also, do you feel like any of the traits that it takes to be successful are go in with both entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship?
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to come out to speak to everyone. It's an honor to see you here today and to see you pursue your dreams and your aspirations and to jump off that cliff and spread your wings and fly. So I salute every single one of you. Don't ever stop. Go all the way. Don't look back unless it's to help someone else. All right? To me, entrepreneurship, I spent 16 years in corporate America, is rising up the ranks, having influence, developing business plans, and changing the way people think, the way people behave, and changing outcomes. I would say entrepreneurship is freedom. You have an opportunity to take a blank slate, and you can think about whatever you want to be, and you can chart that course. You can move out to the desert by yourself. You can take your stake out of your car and plant it in the sand, and you can build your dream in the desert. And if you keep working hard, you'll start attracting people to your army. And there's sunshine in front of you. You keep walking towards the sunshine. And along the way, that army gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And you realize it's not about making money. It's about changing lives. It's about helping people get to where they want to go. Because once you hit your threshold of how much money you need, whatever that dollar amount may be, everything beyond that is a law of diminishing returns. So, to me, freedom, I can never go back to working in the corporate environment. I think that I'm best suited to going back to the desert and helping people find the sunshine that they want to walk towards.
Thanks for that. John, can you comment on that?
So for me, entrepreneurship it's different. It's a simplified process of going from ideation to implementation of whatever it is you want to do. The process is pretty much what I consider entrepreneurship. So for me, it started off a lot of just playing piano, as we just mentioned, and creating music, taking other existing music like Beethoven or Bach and mixing them and then creating something of my own, and then people liking that and sharing that. And that's the value that I give to someone. So I wanted to learn how to take that value and implement it into, a business or some type of delivery to someone else. And so just taking any idea, any value that you want to create and put it into the world, and going through that process from ideation to implementation, I consider entrepreneurship.
Awesome. Shakima?
Ooh. Well, thank you. I echo their comments as well. I would say for entrepreneurship, it's freedom, but it's hard work. And I agree with Lance that you should never give up. Truly focus on what your dream is and just go after it. Intrapreneurship, I like to think of myself as one. At Live Oak Bank, we have a resource center that I lead, and that's a new initiative based off of some situations that happen in history, as well as 2020's pandemic and ongoing pandemic. So, but any entrepreneurship would be considered a internal department or I guess initiative that is created out of corporate, and someone is leading that, such as myself. So Channel in downtown Wilmington would be considered that. A spinoff from a corporation would be considered entrepreneurship, such as Encino with Live Oak Bank. Yep.
Thanks for sharing. And to that, not everybody here is going to be an entrepreneur.
Nope.
A lot of people will climb up the corporate ladder. So
That's right.
For the entrepreneurs, and this will go to you, what can people do in order to make sure that people understand what they're trying to do within their company, but then also not feel like they're overstepping their role as an entrepreneur?
Oh, I wouldn't know how to answer that. I overstep my boundaries every day. I'm a disruptor in a good way. So I think understanding what the initiative is and being able to speak with other people in the company. So collaboration is very key when you're doing something such as what I'm doing with Channel. Also understanding what the community needs as well. So for me, again, I'm always stepping on toes, and I'm unapologetic for that because I base everything on what the community needs, not what I want them to have. So I'm very intentional about that. I think when you're working in a corporate environment, you should definitely have a good relationship with executive management and the CEO, as well as board members to understand, again, where the initiative is going. You don't want it to be a check the box sort of thing. And for me, Channel is definitely not a check the box.
Absolutely. And Lance, in regards to entrepreneurship, what are some common misconceptions that people have when it comes to that, especially in underrepresented communities, and how can we combat these misconceptions?
In underrepresented communities, I think the missing ingredient is confidence. If you go on my website, there's a bridge. If you go to many web pages on my website, there are bridges. And my mission in life is to help more people cross the bridge. And on the other side of the bridge is the big city. In this case, it's San Francisco, and it's emblematic of the global community. And to get someone across the bridge, you've got to groom them, refine them, develop them, and build their confidence so they stand up tall. And when they walk across that bridge, they walk across with confidence. When they walk into the client's office, into the boardroom, they are well prepared. And it is that missing ingredient that I think is rooted in what sometimes your parents teach you. I have this idea of what I call the center of the room. And everyone has four corners of the world, and we come from those four corners of the world. But the best and the brightest leave that corner, your corner of the world, and they move to the center of the room. And the people that compete and collaborate the best become the leaders of the room. And the only way you can become the leader is first leave the room. Secondly, you have to be prepared. And thirdly, you have to maintain your confidence. Never, ever lose it. And if you think you failed, I would politely disagree. I believe you learned something better, how to get better. And every single person hasn't failed who has become an entrepreneur. They began to learn, tweak it, refine it, get it better, and reposition it and market it to the specific segment of society that can use it. So I think one of the biggest things you have to do is to prep. Prep. Be in front of your mirror. Make sure you know what you want to say and how you want to say it. When you do your math and you're running your pro formas, make sure that you have good assumptions. When you're talking to your advisors, go to your advisors with specific questions. Don't waste their time. And then when you get in front of that client, you show that confidence. You be the best of the best of the best. Show your confidence. That's what I think.
Absolutely. John?
Yeah, so for me, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that entrepreneurship can't be taught. We have a university here where you're able to teach people things in business, the process of entrepreneurship and the way to challenge the status quo. But when you don't come to school, right, like where do you go to learn and who can help you, who can teach you entrepreneurship practices? One thing that I learned real quickly was that I can learn from afar by reading stories and hearing examples of entrepreneurship from movies or whatever it may be, but take those ideas and learn the process of entrepreneurship. And so when I mentioned earlier about ideation through implementation, I believe there's a process. From ideation, we all come up with a concept. We got to move that from ideation to research, identifying that process and see is it something that people want, taking it from research and then testing it, customer discovery, and then going from that and then building a team who wants to help you take that idea and that customer discovery and turn it into something that has a product or a service. And then you have to get funding. And then you have to go through the process of implementing and going to market. I believe there's a real process that people can learn. And that's one of the things that I do here is mainly focus on helping people understand how to begin that process and actually manage that with the rest of your life journey, your academic journey, and how to basically take that process and have confidence. Once again, that you mentioned, Lance, is just having confidence in the process and having access to an ecosystem to support you in that learning journey that you have.
Perfect. And we'll stay with you on this.
Yeah.
How do you decide if your business idea is even good?
Going back to customer discovery, in reality, I mean, the customer is going to be the one that tells you, if this product or this idea is something that's wanted to be bringing into the market. You can stay in customer discovery for a long time if you really want to, but the idea is to get out of customer discovery as quick as you can. But to get there, you have to build a prototype. You have to build something that you can show, you can share, you can ask questions about, and basically learn who you are through that process as well. I think one of the biggest things that we have is I have a program that's called Self-Design, which is helping you basically combat your fears and your challenges that you have of going to the next step. And a lot of times when entrepreneurs start their ideas, they can, what we call paralysis by analysis, which is continue to research, continue to ask questions, but never ever step to the table to be able to implement your product in the market or actually go for it. So that's pretty much where I'm at.
Awesome. And Shakima, say somebody has a great idea. What are the steps that they need to take in order to actually create a business plan?
Oh gosh, first, with the business plan, which is absolutely necessary. I've been hearing, and from some different locations, that, we don't need your business plan. That's inaccurate. You always need a business plan. Your business plan is a working document. It's necessary because it helps keep you on track, but also that you can change it as you go along. First step, in my opinion, is to write that executive summary, because that's when you're going to learn what your business is about as well. And then not only that, get a small group together. Don't use your family, maybe one family member. Don't use your family. Get some objective people in there, okay? Because your family is going to co-sign anything because they're trying to be supportive. But get some objective people in there who can assist you, who can tell you, no, not everyone wants red hair, okay? And so that's not going to work, that you're going to make all red wigs. Get some people in there that can help you describe what people need. Do a survey. But the first part of that business plan is that executive summary. And make a business plan.
Absolutely. And Lance, for you, when you made the decision to leave corporate America, start your own company, how did you know you were ready?
Yeah, Lance, how did you know you were ready?
I had a very successful career in corporate America. I had got out of grad school, went to work on the trading floor, learned how to trade bonds, wanted to become an investment banker. JP Morgan gave me an opportunity. Great company. Went on to SunTrust. They gave me another opportunity. And we financed the government, cities, counties, school districts, water districts. But we financed the largest public agencies in the United States. And we only financed equipment. And so from meeting with client after client after client, the person that acquired the fire truck also needed a fire station. And so I pitched to my boss at SunTrust, hey, let's start this new unit. Let's focus on, you're focusing on the largest clients. Let's focus on small and medium-sized public agencies up to about $300 million in revenue. You're only doing equipment. Let's do equipment, infrastructure, facility, and energy, and let's wrap it with advisory services. And my boss said, Lance, this is 2009. We're in the middle of a recession, and we're not going to do it. I was a saver. I've always been a saver. I've always been a risk taker. I acquired $500,000 in my savings account, and I said I can last a couple of years. I didn't want to be one of those people who said, I should have done it.
Right.
So I had a $500,000 to $700,000 job. I sent a resignation letter to my boss. And the president of the company called me back and said, Lance, I have a resignation letter from you. And I said, may I have the floor? He says, yes, you may. I said, I want to thank you for your leadership, making me smarter, making me tougher. But for what I want to do in life, I cannot do under your umbrella. In fact, that umbrella does not exist. So I must go create my umbrella. So it was that point when I hit the send button, I walked away from a fairly high-paying job. I knew I was ready. Then you have to ask yourself 3 questions in life. What do you want to do? Mm-hmm. Number 2, when do you want to get there? And finally, and most importantly, number 3, what price are you willing to pay? And if you can answer those 3 questions, you're ready. You got to go for it. What is the worst thing that could happen? In my case, I go lose $500,000 and go get another job. What is the upside from that? I could be speaking to you right now, telling you to walk away if that's what you want to do, if you have put together your business plan, if you have developed your alliances, if you have developed some subject matter expertise, and if you have found a market that will pay you a premium for something no one else is doing. If you can answer in the affirmative of those questions, I suggest you jump off the cliff and spread your wings and go fly.
Now, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt here.
Oh, go ahead.
Lance,
Yeah, please.
Very good. I just have to say this because, Lance, you made a very valid point of you had $500,000 saved. And what I've noticed in my resource center is that I have a lot of entrepreneurs who came out of the pandemic. So they do not have $500,000 saved, or they were laid off, or they lost their jobs. Many had businesses that were side hustles. So not necessarily a true business because it wasn't formatted, such as an LLC and so forth. However, it was paying the bills, right? But when the Paycheck Protection Program came out, they were not eligible for those funds. So, one, I encourage you to maybe not necessarily say $500,000 like Lance here, but to have some funding that you can have to fall back on in any case. And in the event that you don't, one, format that business today. If you have a side hustle that you are considering or consider your business, you should format that business ASAP and learn the pros and cons of that. Because in the case that we ever have another pandemic, God, I hope not, I want you to be able to get those funds or any funding that the government can assist you with. Now, I'm going off the cuff here because I know James here is the moderator, but hey, Lance, so what do you recommend for people who don't have $500,000 saved, but they're like, listen, I'm tired of, being in this position. I hate my job. I want to start my own business. This is what I want to do. I kind of know the answer to this, but I want his opinion.
So there are people in society who also are investors. Those people are in this room. Those people have hard-earned savings, and they're looking to get a return on that capital. Mm-hmm. So you can go right to this room and show your business plan to these people. You can volunteer at the business school and get connected to Dean Williamson. And you can build those alliances with the business community. And you can meet my friend like Daryl Carter. Our next step is we're going to go raise $1 billion for an infrastructure fund. I don't have $1 billion. But I'm sure that some of you are interested in getting a return on capital to create jobs in the United States and do the right thing to help this country. So you don't need to have all the money. You can have some or very little, but be willing to be the operator and do the work and give a return on capital to first your employees and secondly to your outside investors. I tell my employees, you are my customer. The municipality is your customer.
That's right.
I will take care of you. You take care of your customer. And if you have that mindset, that process, then I believe you're going to get more people to trust in you and to help you raise the capital, to help raise the ship.
That's right.
If you only focus on making money, you're missing the
Yes.
idea of a business.
Yes.
The idea of a business is to solve a problem, whether it be something that is in need, something that you can do faster, something that you can do better. It is not to make money. But if you do one of those three things well, or ideally all three well, you will make a lot of money, more than you need. And the question is, what do you do with the excess capital? You spread it around this room. You don't need it all. You want to help more people. You want to make the world a better place.
So we're not buying Jordans and bougie cars. Okay. All right.
I appreciate that. You know, the thought of losing $500,000 makes my stomach hurt.
Right.
But with that, I want to move to John. For you coming out of the military,
Yeah.
how did you know that you were prepared or ready to start two different businesses?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to just reminding yourself that you actually accomplished something previously and created value before. For the military, it's a little bit unique because every day we're doing something that's not for ourselves. I mean, I wake up every day knowing that the work that I do and the people that I'm collaborating with or sometimes in partnership with, our goal is to make sure that we're protecting the American people.
Right.
So it's always a baseline for me knowing that I've done something that a lot of people have not done, even if at the time before I deployed and before I served overseas and things like that, before I did that, I didn't know really what my purpose was. But once I started learning that the purpose of my job was to serve others, it gave me a whole different understanding of what it is that I want to do with my life. So the kicker was I created something in the military that was valuable. And I got lots of awards for it and lots of praise for it, but because I created it while I was in the military, it was their intellectual property. Mm-hmm. The challenge for me was the creation process. I loved it, but it felt like something got stolen from me, right? And that actually kicked me into entrepreneurship because I didn't know what entrepreneurship was. And so I decided to go to school. I mean, just like some of you, I went back to school to figure out what is entrepreneurship, who's going to teach me. No one at the time, my parents or my friends, no one I knew was an entrepreneur. But I knew when I looked up this word entrepreneurship, when I Googled it, that a school was teaching it. And all I wanted to do was gain the knowledge. And so for me, it was very much like, you know what, I want to bet on myself because I've already done something to create value for others. I want to bet on myself and figure out if I can do it for myself.
And on that, how do you know if you should go raise outside funds for your own business or try to bootstrap it yourself?
Once again, it's a challenging question, right? I mean, not all businesses need to raise funds.
Yep.
Right.
You need to figure out how you can, once again, start. But for those who are in school and those who are actually working for companies and actually want to create a business, you got to maximize the time that you have right now and the space that you have right now. One thing I always talk to the students is, are you willing to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do this entrepreneurial endeavor? Like, are you really truly wanting to wake up in the morning and do it? So that means you're willing to give it your time, right? But if you say you're going to give it your time, time garners what? It garners attention. And a lot of times, we don't give it our attention when we're going through this journey. And you say you want to be an entrepreneur, it sounds sexy, it sounds interesting, but the journey is very challenging. And the moment that you decide to put that onto your life and you have, once again, your academic journey, your life journey, relationship journey, it's very challenging to mix those and bridge that gap. So how can you put your time, attention, and are you willing to give it your money, right? That's the risk that you were talking about before, like time, attention, money, risk. We all have these same variables every day.
That's right.
But how much risk are you willing to take? And once you've decided that, I mean, it's a go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs don't sleep. I don't know what he meant by wake up.
Nonstop. And Shakima, what are some resources that you wish entrepreneurs that come to your bank, what are some resources that you wish they knew about?
So what I wish they knew about and what I do provide them with is mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
So across the U.S., there's a company called SCORE. They're a nonprofit organization. They get funding from the SBA as well. But we do match our entrepreneurs and small business owners with SCORE mentors. They also help with those business plans that y'all don't want to write. Things like grants. I hunt grants daily to send out to my entrepreneurs and small business owners. I send those out, and then I get, hey, Shakima, how do I fill this out? I did the work for you. I'm not going to write it for you, too. So I also teach classes, not me, but I bring people in to teach them how to apply for those grants. What is the information that they need to put in those? Because nonprofit businesses are small business owners also. But I wish they had, grant opportunities, more grant opportunities, information on microloans. Not everyone needs a SBA loan, right? Some need smaller loans. We're talking $25,000, $50,000. I had one young lady in a class said, Shakima, if you just give me $25,000, I'll make something shake. I was like, what are you gonna make shake? But she's a photographer, and so I understood that. I said, write me a proposal, let me see what I can do about that. But then there are other people we have a gentleman who is owning technically he's gone through the concept of having his food truck, very successful. And now he is buying a restaurant. So Live Oak was able to provide him with that loan to make that restaurant happen. It also happens to be a restaurant that is on Castle Street, which in Wilmington was previously known as Black Wall Street. And so prior to that, the old restaurant is called Booties. No, I wouldn't eat there. And it's more of a club atmosphere after hours. I don't know what that was, but anyway. He now has that restaurant, so it'll open this year. But I wish things like the resource center that we have now that just opened in November, we've been open since November of 2015, was available for entrepreneurs, just like the School of Business. Resources such as this and resource centers are important. If we can get those resource centers across the U.S., I think that would be great. When you have people like me who create a community for entrepreneurs to sit and talk with other entrepreneurs to understand some of the pitfalls that other entrepreneurs have, experienced, and they don't have to go through that. Or to sit with coaches and understand that my business does mean something. I need that confidence that Lance talked about. Or if this idea is great, or, how can I make my business more innovative? Or what makes my business different? I hear a lot of people go, well, I can't do this business because this person's already done it. I know you lying. You can do whatever business you want to do. However, you need to figure out what's going to make your business stand out the best. So they didn't just make one Burger King. They came out with McDonald's. I don't know which one came first, Coke or Pepsi, semantics, right?
Right.
But there's always one that's better than the other or one that you prefer. I'm a Coke girl myself, just so you know, and McDonald's. Anyway, but that's my point.
I knew we were friends. So what I got from that is don't name your business Booties.
Oh, if we had enough time, I would go into some of the names that our business owners have named their businesses. I do want to say this, since you brought that up. Please be mindful of what you're naming your business. I know that you think some of these names are really catchy, but you got to think about your target audience and how that's listed in the yellow pages. I know that's old school, but on the internet as well. You got to think about how that's going to come across, them children's mama.
Absolutely. And John, I'd like for you to weigh in on that as well. You having worked with so many entrepreneurs coming out of UC Irvine, what are some resources that you wish they would have known of previous to even coming to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's different when you're on a campus because the campus is designed to try to
Right.
find ways to provide resources. And the research centers are great. You know, an entrepreneurship center is very, very important. That's why we tried our best to build one. UCI is really known for a research, right? So when they try their best to provide resources like a center, it's designed to be a home, right? So the universities have to do a good job of making sure students know that first and foremost, right? But the research centers, the entrepreneurship centers, we also have some of the career development centers on campus where you can go to, like Division of Career Pathways. They have entrepreneurial development processes so they can actually give students knowledge on that to be able to work for companies if you have entrepreneurial skill set. But if you really want to have a company and you want to build a company through this school year or that process, a center is designed, it needs to be there to help that person with mentorship, coaching, guidance and development.
That's right.
The business school obviously has a center like that. So, you know, being on campus is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Lance, they say that riches are in the niches, and it sounds like you've been able to build your business off of focusing on a niche, municipalities. How does one determine whether or not that's even a possibility in their business?
You are in a theater right now. You can see the person in front of you. You can see the person in back of you. You can see the person to your right and to your left. You have to move to the balcony. And in the balcony, you can see what's in the orchestra pit, what's in the rafters, what's in each side of this auditorium. You've got to move up and think differently. You have to think more broadly. You have to say, well, this group over here are women between 35 and 55. What do they want? This group over here are men between 25 and 35. What do they want? We're not all the same.
That's right.
You're not just like your spouse or your boyfriend or your brother or your sister.
That's right.
But you have to identify groups of people, and it's not based upon race.
That's right.
It is not. You're not like your brother and your sister. But there are people that have similar values, pursuits of goals, resources, and needs. Identify it. Focus like a laser, and then come down from the balcony and go talk to that group. And identify whether their dreams and their aspirations, what's working and what's not working well, and come up with a solution. How it's going to save them time, how it's going to improve their lives, how it's going to make them some money, how it's going to help their children or their unborn grandchildren. And if you can do that by standing up in the balcony and looking around and coming down and focusing on that niche, and you can quantify the revenues from that niche and have expenses that are less than that revenues, revenues minus expenses equals profit. And once you have a profit, you multiply that unit of profit times the number of people in that niche. And then you multiply that number by the percentage of that niche that you can think you can take business from or get business from. And do the math, and if that return on capital is sufficient for you and your investors, you have found your profitable niche.
Awesome, thanks for that. I could stay up here and do this all day, but I'm getting the stank eye from Rodrigo and Tanya. So if we have time, I'd like to open it up to question and answer.
Thank you, panel, so much. So I'm getting ready to graduate June 13 from the MBA for executives here at Paul Mirage, and thank you. I had the privilege to do the international residential in Israel, in Tel Aviv, Israel, and we went there to study and be a part of the startup scene. And one thing that I took away is they really, the culture is, it's based on a term called chutzpah, which is, relative to what Lance talked about, it's extreme confidence and embracing failure. And their culture, the startup culture there, it's like, you know how here in America it's like my son is an attorney, my son is a physician. There it's like my son is a serial entrepreneur. You know, and they embrace failure. It's like you carry out the mission no matter what. Like the military, they all have to be in the military at 18 and all of this stuff. But their extreme confidence, even when they don't know what the target market is. Could you elaborate more on how you look at failure and what that looks like in an entrepreneurial journey?
I think I touched on this earlier. I think it's a learning opportunity. And for example, when the pandemic hit, I told everyone in my company to go home. I said, I have an announcement to make. We jumped on a conference call. And I said 2 things. This is something out of our control, the pandemic. Number 1, nobody gets fired. Number 2, we're on offense. We're not on defense. Maximum disruption, maximum opportunity. And so I took this pandemic experience as an opportunity to revamp my entire company. How we motivate people, how we enter new markets, how we use technology to enter those markets, the messaging that we took. It is not a failure if it doesn't work. It is a learning opportunity. Now the question is, are you going to wave the white flag or are you going to take one step forward? And I would encourage you to take the step forward. Never give up. Always believe in yourself. That is why you're in this room today. You didn't come for the free food. You came because you believe in you. You should applaud all of the resources at this institution, the executive staff, the people that execute the strategies. They're here for you. Take advantage of this opportunity, and when you are prepared, give something back to this room. Don't leave something for someone else, give it to someone else. I had a mentor, and this mentor told me, he said, Lance, what do you want to do after you graduate from graduate school? And I said, I don't know, Don. I'm in banking. I'm in finance. I guess I'll go into banking. He says, I know some bankers. So 2 weeks later, he walks me down the street. He takes me to the U.S. Bank headquarters. He takes me to the CEO of U.S. Bank, and he introduces me, and he says, the CEO says, are you a friend of Don Waggy? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, you're a friend of mine. He said, come back in a week. So he had me back in 2 weeks, and he said, Lance, you're hired. And I said, great, what will I be doing? So he walks me to this floor-to-ceiling mirror window, and we look down into the courtyard of his bank, and he says, you see all those people down there? You'll be opening up accounts, and we'll give you some banks to run. And I said, I really want to be a part of your team, but I would like to be in the investment bank. So identify. Do your research. Don't walk into this room and have nothing to contribute. Walk into this room prepared to contribute. So one day when you meet that person and they are waiting for you to extend your hand and tell them why you are here, you make a positive impression on that person and that person could change the trajectory of your life. Like my buddy Durrell, I'm from extremely humble beginnings. But it's not where you're from.
That's right.
It's where you're going. We're all from humble beginnings, depending on how far generations you go back. But we're all in this room today. We're all equal. We can make it. The question is, what price are you willing to pay to make it? And I say go all the way.
One more question. Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for coming here and sharing not only your experiences, but your wisdom. So I'm currently an undergraduate student. I'm gonna be a senior next year. And I've had opportunities to work at startups and corporations as well. So I kind of wanted to hear from your perspective. You know, for some of us who are going through undergraduate school, graduate school, like after college, do you recommend starting your own business or working at a startup? Or do you think that in general, like going down the corporate path and getting some experience would be better? I know it's a case-by-case thing, but what would you be like your general advice?
You're asking me?
Everything.
What you ask?
I'll answer. So I think when you're in college, right? I think I mentioned earlier, like you're battling this idea, like I have this academic journey.
Right.
I got to complete it. Either it's for yourself, it's for your parents, it's for whoever it is, it's for whatever reason, and you want to pursue entrepreneurship. There's many ways to do it. We talk about entrepreneurship. I would tell you go get a job, right? Learn from that job. Make sure you take a little piece of that money, put it to the side for the ideas that you want to have, right? If that's a route that you want to go. But if you want to take more risk, like Lance is talking about, the idea is to really put time and energy into that first and foremost. While you have this 4 years or 3 years you have left in school, this is probably the most amount of time you're going to get to spend time on the idea, right? And then I'll give you just two perspectives. I like to break my life up in 20 years, right? What do I want to do when I'm 40 years old? Like, where do I want to be, right? And at least I have this vision. And does this path that I'm charting, is it really getting me there or is it not getting me there, right? So I get to manage my time. I get to, once again, manage my attention on what it is I'm putting energy into. So you have to be, decide first, which risk are you willing to take, Are you willing to go work for a company first, a couple years, but still pursue the journey of entrepreneurship? Or just go take the risk and pursue entrepreneurship?
I'm going to also say this. You have time, right? But time is also money. But I want you to follow your passion. You have time to research and to think about exactly what it is that you want to do. Remember your passion. So, quick story. I know, Tanya, you're standing over there. Quick story. I've been in banking for over 20 years. I was telling Jean here that I used to tell my husband about, 6 or 7 years ago, I'm not supposed to be here. We were living in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I would come home. I had a commute that was 1 hour to RBC Bank and 1 hour back because we lived in Clayton, North Carolina, right 30 minutes outside of Raleigh. But I worked on the outskirts of Raleigh, which was more Durham. And I was frustrated. And I'd still come home and say, we're not supposed to be here. We're supposed to live near the water, eat off the land, and help people. My husband's from Panama, so I thought he'd understand that, right? He was like, yeah, okay. And he'd just give me this look. So I'd say it every day for a while. And then I got the opportunity to take a job. I was in compliance, by the way, so I was a bit of a nerd. Regulatory compliance for banking. Anyway, that wasn't my passion, so just so you know. But I kept speaking my passion to my husband. I knew I wanted to help people. I've always done it on the side, volunteering, everything. And finally, I get an opportunity to go to Live Oak Bank in Wilmington, North Carolina. I was asking the universe for Florida, but I got Wilmington, North Carolina, still near the water. I'm helping people, not quite eating off the land. However, that is my passion. Me helping other small business owners, entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, and just following that path. So if you do happen to get a job straight out of college, that's fine. As John said, put a little piece of that money back, but continue to follow your passion because you'll get there one day.